official leadership podcast from USMB for pastors and church leaders, where our goal is to increase our impact together.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 67 of the USMB Lead Pods, and welcome to December. My name is Matt Ersman, and as always, really grateful to be your host today for a conversation I've been looking forward to sharing with you. And today we've got another topic that we haven't dove into before, and we're discussing the life of church planters' wives. I think a lot of times the spouse of the pastor often gets forgotten, kind of lost in the shuffle, since they're not in the spotlight nearly as much as the pastor is. And, you know, as I got to talk to these two ladies today, there are just some really unique situations, some unique struggles, and some unique joys that come with being in the role of a pastor's spouse. So really looking forward to sharing the episode with you today. I talked with Melissa Wiebe and Heather Hubrich. Many of you probably know, if you don't know them, you might know their husbands, Phil Wiebe and Jeff Hubrich, who are leaders of Lakeview Church out there in Utah. They've both been on the show before. And I just really enjoyed getting to know Heather and Melissa. They both just have a heart on fire for ministry, and you can tell that they've kind of, over the years, figured out their niche as the spouse, ways that they can serve and ways that they can also still make sure that their families are taken care of and that they can give and serve in ways that are meaningful to them and fit their personalities. So I really encourage you to listen to this, especially if you are a spouse of a pastor. But if not, they also share some really helpful things about ways that we as congregation members can be supportive of people in that role. And so really important conversation that we probably don't spend enough time thinking or talking about. So grateful to have these ladies on. So thank you for listening today. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get right to my conversation with Melissa Wiebe and Heather Hubrich.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Mennonite Central Committee. MCC's Serving and Learning Together SALT program is a year-long, cross-cultural experience that gives young adults the chance to dive deep into another culture, live out their values, and gain hands-on experience. The skills, knowledge, and personal capacity they build while experiencing another culture will exercise their faith muscles and set them up for success in their future career. Learn more at mcc.org/SALT.
All right, friends, we've got a topic I'm really excited to dive into today. Today we're talking to Melissa Wiebe and Heather Hubrich. They are the pastors' wives of Lakeview Church out in Utah. Both their husbands are campus pastors over in Lakeview, and I've had the privilege of interviewing both of the men, and now we got the ladies on today, and I'm excited to dive in with both of you. So Melissa, Heather, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes. So real quick, let's kind of get to know you both individually a little bit here. So Melissa, we'll start with you. Can you just, if people haven't met you or Phil yet, or maybe you aren't super familiar with Lakeview and how it's set up, can you just introduce yourself? Tell us about you and Phil and your campus at Lakeview, and we'll keep rolling here.
Yeah, so I am I'm from Utah, and we have 4 kids. We moved out to Tooele in spring of 2018 with the purpose of planting a church out in Stansbury Park. There wasn't any other born-again Christian churches out in Stansbury Park, and church planting had been on Phil's heart for a while, seasons past. And actually backing up in 2012, he went to an MB conference about church planting, but then that fall, our son passed away. And so that got put on the back burner. Yeah. And then we ended up moving from St. George to Salt Lake. And he talked about it periodically, but we, in 2018, just started revisiting that and moved out to Tooele and planted Lakeview Church. It officially opened Easter of 2019, but we'd had some multiple pilot services and other stuff before then. So, and he's been in ministry our entire marriage. And so it's something that is very familiar, whether he was doing youth pastor work or associate pastor. So it's something basically, because I got married young, has been a part of my whole adult life, but still has its challenges for sure. And it's pretty exciting to be a part of a church out here in Tooele County.
Very cool. And Melissa, I think I had heard about your son, but I had forgotten about that. I'm really sorry. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. So we have a daughter who's 12, and then our son Nate would be 10, and actually coming up here the end of this month is the anniversary of his passing,
Oh.
which recently I was listening to a podcast, and she talked about it being his heavenly birthday. And I was like, how have I been having this date for 10 years and not thought about it like that? Because we celebrate his birthday, but I've never thought of like phrasing it that way. So, and then we have another son who's 9 and the son who's 7. So it's busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I homeschool them, and then I also do hair 1 day a week.
Okay.
And my mom and dad will watch the kids, and so that's pretty fun that they get to go have time with grandma and grandpa.
Very cool.
Get to talk about adult things.
Yes. Very cool. And Heather, for those of us who are at convention, we heard quite a bit of your story, at least from Jeff's perspective at convention. And he shared that when he was on the podcast also. But what about you? What else can you tell us? And maybe people who don't know your story, you don't need to get into the details. It's kind of a big, long story, but let's hear about your story and how you got to where you are.
So Jeff and I have been married for 25 years. We got married young as well. That's a popular thing in Utah. We have an LDS background. We were both raised in the LDS church and had, callings and all the things, and just didn't feel that it was right as we were in our, marriage and trying to just be good, faithful people. And at about year 3.5, we had divorce papers on the table because we were trying so hard to be something for so many other people that we were ready to call it quits. And then we realized that we still actually loved each other, but a lot of things in our life had to go. So our jobs, a lot of friends, and our religion. We just rejected our lives and just really focused on our marriage and getting to know each other better. And we had dear friends as I changed jobs that introduced us to Jesus. And we were able to find Jesus through them, just them having a personal relationship with us. And they brought us to South Mountain Community Church, where we were baptized and became believers. And so we were discipled and really mentored well through one of our sister churches in the conference. And that is where we initially knew who Phil and Melissa were. They were younger than us, but so we were attending, our daughter Cessna was 1.5. So I was in MOPS with her. And Melissa's mom was actually one of my MOPS mentors. Back in those days. And
small world.
Yeah, small world. And then we were involved in lots of different church plants and stuff in Tooele and things like that didn't really stay or stick. And because my husband was an airline captain, he was a pilot for 20 years, we bounced around a lot, and he lived in a bunch of different places, and I refused to move a bunch of those places. So commuting a lot of the time. We also have a son as well, Lance. And so my daughter's almost 20 and Lance has just turned 16. So they also keep us busy in different ways. A lot of stress with young adults, trying to navigate that. But so when Lakeview came out here, Jeff was originally on the original task force team. Phil reached out to him and said, hey, we want to plant a church out here. And so we've been involved with that from the get-go. And I always kind of joke that the elder board turned on us when asking us to be the pastoral couple out in Grantsville, because it was just nothing I ever saw happening in my life. Like, that was just not like financially and otherwise. I'm just like, wait, what? You want us to what? And like Jeff, I mean, he was not even off on Sundays. Like, he would attend church maybe, a few times a year because he was flying a lot on Sundays. So it was really crazy to go from that to being asked to be in this position. But the vision, mission, and values of Lakeview are something that we're super passionate about. And so when Jeff said yes, it was just kind of a learning to get yourself out of the way, and let God lead. And that was battle initially. But the people out in Grantsville are amazing, and it's been just a real blessing for our family. So
that's great. So really what we want to spend most of our time talking about is just what it's like for you guys to be pastors' wives, and more specifically, church planters, pastors' wives, because those are all very unique dynamics, right? I think for those of us who aren't in your position, there's no way we'll ever fully understand what your lives are like. And, it's really not fair. Like if you marry a teacher or an engineer or a plumber or pretty much anything other than a pastor, pilot, yes. Like all those things.
One way. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, see, pilot spouses have some pretty unique things that they have to deal with, but a lot of most other jobs doesn't affect the spouse nearly as much as a pastor's spouse does, right? I'm sure you guys get roped into all kinds of things you never imagined you get roped into. So I just want to hear from you. Like, what has your experience been like? I guess, Melissa, maybe it was a little bit more on your radar than Heather's. Probably you, at least you kind of figured out that was probably Phil's trajectory at some point. Heather, you married almost a completely different guy when you first got married. So let me just hear from you guys. Like, what is it like especially as you were kind of getting used to this world, stepping into these new roles? What has your experience been like?
I think that we need to pause right here, and in the midst of marriage things, I think that you hear people say oh, we're different people. We they're a different person. It's yeah, you're all going to change.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And even if you think that's going to be your trajectory or your spouse's trajectory, you don't know. And the key, it doesn't really matter what your spouse's job is or what your job is. It's you have to keep going together, because Heather would have never in a million years been yeah, we're gonna be in ministry, So, and then Phil and I, the change isn't maybe quite as dramatic, but of course you go through a big loss of a child, that changes how you think about stuff and changes who you are. And so a huge thing for both of us, I would say, is kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's just marriage is important, and it's hard, and you have to keep working on it. Doesn't really matter what the things are around there, but it's focusing on God and bringing that back is the huge stabilizer in a relationship. So that's a side note, but just thinking about the excuse of they changed.
Right.
They did.
Yeah.
Hopefully
no, that's
I'm
a
not
great point.
Person when I was getting married at 19.
That's a great point. Yep. That's good.
I've grown, Phil's grown, and Heather and Jeff have gone through a lot of changes too.
Yes.
And so,
and I think a lot of it is you don't expect, not necessarily the loneliness aspect, but there are not a lot of people that understand not necessarily the weight you carry, but we are supposed to be, our helpmeet to our spouses, and they carry a lot of heavy things.
Yep.
And so trying to navigate that and make sure that we're being encouraging and praying with and studying together has been I notice when we've been lack in that area, that it causes in other areas. So it's you have to really focus on making that time with your spouse, making that time with your family, because you get so busy just doing church that a lot of times you have to really refocus and be okay, let's make sure we're grounded and we're rooted, because we can't really pour out if we haven't been poured into. So
yeah.
I
was gonna say, I think the church planting thing adds another layer of difficulty, because again, I've talked to both of your husbands. I know a few other church planters. In the early days, honestly, it is a 24/7 job for a while. Or it's not going to work unless you are all in. And obviously there are pros and cons to that. And that's a difficult life for everyone involved, right? And especially you all have kids, and obviously you want to have a healthy marriage. And so I guess, especially in those early days, was that a struggle? How did you guys figure out how to, make this work, but also have a healthy family?
Well, I've gotten to a place that Phil will be this is a season. And I'm our whole life is this season.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there are seasons, but they're a lot milder changes than in certain areas of the country where the seasons are very distinct. I don't necessarily feel that way,
Yeah.
which people can disagree with me, but I think that really for me, it's been something that we've been in ministry together for so long
Mm-hmm.
that it was actually probably refreshing for us because right before this, Phil was a youth pastor,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not help at all, which it
Mm.
wasn't an expectation that I was a part of youth ministry. It's
Uh-huh.
not really a jam. And I now have a 12-year-old, and so I have to kind of make it my jam.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But and so we kind of lived separate lives. Like I
Mm.
had the kids, they were a lot younger in the trenches of that season, but the younger ages. And he had his ministry. So church and church consuming every aspect of our life has just always been a part of that. But then when we moved out to Tooele, it was like now we were a team again. And we were like together having people over to our house to get to know them, together showing up for an event.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, when he was in youth ministry, it would be like, see you later. He's going
Mm-hmm.
off thing, or he would meet with his volunteers, or sometimes he'd be like, you should come to this event, as I'm like running around trying to keep 3 kids from like being too disruptive, where now it was like, no, this is our family. And so our marriage actually did so much better because we were actually had like the same goal. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
more separate when he was doing youth ministry. So both of us, I would say, have had talked about it, and it's like it was way nicer and so much healthier for our relationship,
Mm-hmm.
where we were on the same page, and like we had a very common, clear goal of what we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to, what we were working towards, and
Yeah.
that took out a lot of so much stress out of our relationship, because it was like we're together on this versus
Mm-hmm.
last 4 years before that
Yeah.
was a little bit more like he had his own life, which if it was a regular job that's like 9 to 5
Mm-hmm.
and didn't include all these extra things, maybe it wouldn't have mattered, but because it's ministry, right, it's not ever like that. And so it
Yep.
just is a little bit more challenging. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a lot. You're putting in a lot of time, you're getting to know a lot of people. Thankfully, in our relationship, I am more like, Phil likes to talk more than me,
Hmm.
but I don't mind being around people. I have a lot higher tolerance for being busy and being around people.
Okay.
And so hosting people, things changing, like being around people all the time is not
Mm-hmm.
as exhausting for me as it is for like Phil, but I might not be the main. I'd rather like be in the background, but I can like orchestrate it all. And Phil will always be the one that's like more vocal per se. But I think that was really key in our relationship for church planting, because often opposites attract. And in meeting a lot of other pastors and church planters, often I see these like where the wife, or I mean, especially in a church planter situation, it seems like more often the wife is more introverted and the husband is more outgoing, which totally makes sense for that personality in a
Yeah.
church planter
Mm-hmm.
situation. And so I think our real strong point has been that I have such a high tolerance of loving and being around people, and it's not as exhausting to me, so that we can do that. And it's like, it works out really well, because so often it's like after church, Phil will be like, I'm done. And often a traditional situation of like opposites, right? The other person would be like, yeah, I need a break too, but we can like keep pushing, because
Yeah.
I can handle that a little bit more. And I think that has hugely helped Phil and I of just
Mm-hmm.
having the stamina to keep going, because you are really engaging with people all the time.
Yep.
More than you ever thought.
More than I ever thought, yeah.
Yep.
I think I had the opposite problem. Like my husband was literally on the road 4 to 5 days a week. And so I was with the kids and taking care of the house and doing all these things. And then I really struggled with him just being home all the time, sleeping in the same bed. Like, I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but like, he was gone at least 4 nights a week, and we had to readjust being in the same bed. Like
Mhm.
he was used to spreading out in the hotel room and doing whatever he wanted, throwing his stuff wherever, willy-nilly.
That's true.
And I'm like, no, that's not how it works here.
Yeah.
How we do things. And so it was a struggle just having him home,
Mm.
like every night of the week. Like
Yeah.
we never had the arguments of me going and doing something with someone or me scheduling the kids for something, because I'd always do that when he wasn't there. So when dad was home, it was all family time all the time. We'd schedule our trips, all our everything. And so even my kids, you know, as young adults, they're like, so is it always all family time all the time? Like, I can't do this or I can't go do that, you know? So
Yeah.
it was kind of crazy. But when we were launching, it was in amidst like kind of the COVID stuff. So everyone was really home a lot anyway.
Mhm. Mhm.
That just kind of ease into that way. But yeah, I think I mean, we have at least people over for dinner. We have new people coming all the time, and the quicker you connect with them, the more likely they're going to come back. Like if you
Sure.
put it off for weeks and weeks, then they're not going to come back. And so like we have 2 dinners this week. We just had one last night. We have another, or Monday night. We have another one tonight. And then small groups, and like we run a class called Turning Point. It's kind of like Knowing God 101, but with the
Mhm.
Mormon background,
Yep.
and just helping, you know, disentangle
Mhm.
like things that they learned for so many years.
Yeah.
And so that's on Sunday nights. And so
Mhm.
we just feels like we're go, go, go. And I've had to go back to work since he's become a pastor. And so I'm not home at all during the
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
And so like it just seems like I get home and I'm prepping a meal for someone, or I'm prepping to go teach a class, or I'm going like it's kind of back to back to back. So like
Mhm.
Saturday for my Sabbath, that's the day I say no.
Mhm.
Take time for
Yeah.
me and have time to reset for me.
Yeah.
So because I work Monday through Friday, and Sunday, you know, is not a day off.
No.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So just readjusting your schedule and the way you plan things, and really carving out that Sabbath time, not just for you and your spouse and your family, but for yourself, because you really
Mhm.
need that time for yourself too. So
Yeah. And you said a lot of I have a lot of questions. Those are great things. So a couple of things that you said that stuck out to me. One thing I think has gotten better over the past maybe like, I don't know, generation or so, but I remember just hearing about or even seeing movies, which this is probably not true, but there used to be this expectation for pastors' wives, right? Like you were kind of a symbol, and it's offensive. Like, but it was kind of this, you had your own role. You're not on the payroll, but you are the pastor's wife, and there's a set of expectations that comes with that, right?
Yeah.
Is that still a thing? How does that work in your churches? How do you handle that pressure? I can only imagine the pressure you feel.
well, I had friends, I think I told Melissa this. I had friends say, well, what do I call you now? And I'm like, Heather.
Yeah.
Like, don't put me on a pedestal I didn't ask to be on. Like, I'm just like you. Like, I'm not any different. Like, you know, and I think that was the flesh part I was talking to you about, where even myself, where I would see certain pastors' wives and I'm like, I'm not that person. Like, that's not who I am. And so I had to get my flesh out of the way of God calling me to this position, and not putting some sort of expectations on myself that he didn't ask me to put on myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just being the real me, who he's created me to be, is what's supposed to be for these people, not trying to be the image of like the, you know, I always say like the Stepford wife, where you're like, oh, everything's wonderful all the time and everything's perfect. No, it's not. I can't pretend. You know, and I think that God has really worked on that in me, where it's okay to obviously you have to be a little bit guarded with the rank and file people, but you need to have people in your corner too that can be praying for you and pouring into you, and that can hear your heart when you're struggling with something and stuff too. So reaching out to those mentors and having those people in your life that can encourage you and love on you. And that was a really important thing that Phil told us to make sure we had in place, because it is a different type of role for
Yeah.
sure.
I totally know what you're talking about as far as like the expectations. I think in some ways when you're planting a new church versus like I've made some great friends that are have taken over and just revitalizing churches, or you know, come to an already established church. When you're planting, you have the opportunity to kind of create the culture
Yeah.
that's there. You're not replacing someone else. Like, sure, we've gone to other churches and maybe those are the like things that they've experienced at those other churches. But like Lakeview is a new church. And
Yeah.
so I'm not filling the role, or Heather's not filling the role of someone else that was there. And like,
Yeah.
oh, you're not like them, or you're not, they always did this, right? So
Right.
like in some ways I feel like it's, as a church planter, it's so much easier because you're not moving into a position that someone already had.
Yeah.
You get to kind of create that role, or like you're setting that standard in a way, which I mean can be good or bad, right? But at least I'm not filling someone else's shoes. Of course,
Yeah.
there might be people's expectations, but
Mhm.
I don't feel like, oh, I have to do this or be this way because of expectations that other people are putting on me. I put plenty on myself
Sure.
for sure. And so that, you know, that can be challenging, but I don't feel personally like, oh, Melissa has to be in charge of this because the last person was always in charge of this. Like I don't feel any of stuff like that. Of a role that's like an expectation.
Yeah.
For
Good.
us. But
Well, when we started Lakeview, I started the ladies ministry. And so when Jeff got put in the position of pastor, I stepped down as the director role because I
can't do both.
I can't do it all because
Mhm.
so much what I'm doing as a pastor's wife is a lot of what ladies ministry director was doing.
Yeah.
And so we thought it was important that we had different directors at each campus that weren't necessarily the pastor's wife. We're mentors to those women,
Right.
but I'm like, I can't do that role as well. And so I think some of that, there were some people that were, I think, a little upset about me stepping down from that. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
But
Which you had a harder place for that, where like I came in when we planted the church and I literally took on 0 roles.
Mhm.
And
you did a lot of the kids ministry and
or like super early on, but
Yeah.
Caitlin and David came so fast
Yeah,
that
they
I was
did.
like, thank
Yeah.
you, Jesus, people that want to do children's ministry.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
But no, like, and it wasn't necessarily like Phil and I talked about this ahead of time intentionally, like, I'm not going to be in charge of anything. We didn't really
Yeah.
talk about that, but it was just like, this doesn't really, I don't have the capacity with the choice that we're making of homeschooling our kids for me to like have this like major leadership role. And also, as Heather has been in this role, I think that you would probably agree, like there's so many meetings with people one-on-one or with couples or other things that like you are engaging with your church community all the time. So why not let someone else have the opportunity to like be more of the organizational and like and our ladies ministry people aren't just organizing women's events, but like they are engaging with women too and leading, but we can then choose to participate in those things versus like having this role of like also leading it, where like let someone else have that joy that's their thing, and then that spreads out more people that people can engage and grow with and get to know, versus like all of the weight being on that one person that still is meeting with people for completely other reasons.
Right.
So, I think that wasn't necessarily intentional, though. We both are sort of forced to do announcements.
Yeah,
I don't know. Has it gotten better for you?
Yeah, we're the hosts at our campuses.
And Phil got it from Fred. Fred said that it's good to have your wife people to see her as your teammate. And if you're up there each week giving announcements and sharing like that aspect, it helps your church see like you guys are teammates, which we both agree with that.
Yeah.
But at first we were
Yeah.
both like,
What?
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
I'm not a public speaker.
Right. Right.
I just like what she had said too. Like we're more the behind the scenes, like to be the host and do
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
But
Make me give the speech.
I don't need to be front and center.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell the joke.
Yeah.
Right.
You can tell the joke.
Right.
I'll probably mess it up. We already know that.
Yeah.
But if I can make sure everyone has food or it's comfortable,
Mhm.
whatever, like
Yeah.
that's great.
Mhm.
And no one's sitting off by
Decorate,
themselves.
make sure everything.
all
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so I mean that's a role that we have, both of us have taken on. Phil, from our relationship with Fred and Esther Leonard, they were some early mentors with us. I have definitely I like stepped up to that, even though I didn't really want to, but it's been the more you do it each week, probably I say the exact same thing and people get bored of that, but it's not at least as scary for me.
Well, and now that you get to a lot of the people, and it's like talking
more
to friends.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You guys, I think you both a couple times used just the phrase ministry together. I think that's just important for us to recognize, for those of us who aren't in your shoes. Like you're probably at maybe not quite as many meetings or as many meals or whatever, but you're being asked to do so many things, like you mentioned, behind the scenes. You're meeting all these new people, and there is just a lot put on you. And it kind of sounds like you both have kind of settled in to places where you're able to use your gifts, things that fit your personality pretty well. But I guess kind of hear more about that. Like I know you view this as it's your ministry too, right? It's not Phil's and Jeff's. Like it's your ministry. You're in this. Can you just talk about that a little bit more and how that's maybe evolved over time?
Well, there's sometimes what I tell Jeff, that's your job,
Yeah.
not my job.
Yeah.
You get big bucks for that.
Yeah. It's such big bucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like ultimately Phil and I, when we talk about ministry, right, our goal is to share the gospel with people in our community and help them to find joy and freedom in Christ. And so when you are doing ministry together or as an individual, like for me, Phil does have to deal with a lot more of the business stuff, and I don't really.
Yeah.
I have to listen to him talk about it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't necessarily carry that weight. And I've talked to him about like, dang, I'm glad I don't have to think about making sure there's enough to pay everyone. Like I wouldn't want pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But it is pretty exciting and very, while you spend a lot of time with people, it can be so refreshing to watch people's lives change. And I mean, I recently met with someone and I said, okay, I will gladly talk to you about the Bible as much as you want. But if you want to be my friend, like that's okay.
Yeah.
And Heather kind of touched on, this is maybe a part of it or not, but about sometimes it's lonely, and a high value that I have, which I'm sure I've failed at. And if like someone could say, oh, I felt excluded by this, but I really, really try hard to not be, have a personality type that is exclusive, that like, has this certain group of friends, and if you're not in her group, you're probably not going to be invited to stuff. Like I don't want to feel that way. I always want people to know that it doesn't matter who you are, you're welcome. I don't have a clique. And that's hard. And especially when it was even smaller, it's hard because then you're like, well, who's my friend? Like I can't just call one person and hang out with them all the time. And then what if someone else finds out that I invited, like we hang out 3 times, and early on there was a gal that I became friends with, and I told Phil, this is so nice because she doesn't go to our church really. She doesn't know anyone at church, and we can hang out as much as we want, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no one's keeping score behind the towel. Yeah.
Right? And I don't have to feel, and we could just like hang out, and then God got a hold of her heart and she became a Christian, and I share her now, and but it's like finding that balance of saying like, I'm your friend, whether or not we're talking about Jesus, but of course, always in the back of your mind is like, how can I be a representative of who Jesus is and how he's given me that joy and freedom in my life, and finding that balance of when to speak up and when to just be the friend that's there to talk about whatever they want to talk about, or just, random interests that you have, or cook food together, or,
Mhm.
take care of each other's kids and help each other out or whatever. But all of that, like literally our entire ministry and our entire life is ministry.
Yeah.
So even going to the grocery store for me, and it's not a burden, but I think about it. How am I talking to my kids? How
Yeah.
am I treating the people that I'm seeing? How am I treating, which it doesn't matter whether you live in a small town or a large town, you should probably be thinking about those things, but we live in a small town. If I am a jerk to someone and then they come to church on Sunday and I'm like giving announcements, they're
Yeah.
like, girl is not like that when she's at the
Right.
grocery store.
That's a lot of
They're
pressure.
like that. And thankfully I don't really look at it as like pressure that weighs me down, but it's like,
Mhm.
hey, I want to be the same person wherever I am,
Yeah.
in whatever situation I'm in. And I
Mhm.
guess some ways it's just like really good accountability.
Yeah.
Like you always have that accountability. Like, okay, I have to be the same person. Like, if this is who I believe God has created me to be, and this is the character qualities and how He wants me to treat people, I should probably do that everywhere. And
Yeah.
it's not, this thing where I can avoid it in certain situations, but to be able to be that. But I mean, it is amazing to watch people's lives change. Like I haven't seen that in the same way that we have out here. Like
Mhm.
that's the ministry that we do,
Yeah.
being a friend to people.
Yeah, and I think it's so much of that. That's my conversion story. Is I had a woman who invested in me and had no agenda. She just invested in me as a person, and so that's so much of what I try to teach everyone that I come in contact with. Where it's just you love on people right where they are, no agenda, no nothing, and just like she said, you be the same person to them whether you're seeing them on Sunday morning or you're seeing them, on the street. Like you're a big part of who Jeff and I are. It's always, what is your character? What is your integrity? And that's what we've always taught our kids. Like not one person to one person and another to another. You're the same throughout. And being honorable to that and to God in that always comes through because people see that genuine love and care for them. You can't fake that. When people, and that's the biggest thing for us is just always making sure that everyone feels welcome, everyone feels loved, everyone feels included, because that's what Jesus's family is. Everyone is diverse and so different. And we have a wide variety of people between two campuses that are on all different ends of the spectrum. And we're all part of God's family, and He loves every one of us the same, and I keep trying to remind my kids, and now that we've been kind of mentoring the young adults group. We just started a young adults group that are 20s, and it's really cool to see all these young people that have been coming. And we had two of the young ones just baptize two of their friends, and that was the coolest experience on Sunday. So new believers baptizing new believers. It was such a surreal experience. But just teaching them that it doesn't matter where someone's at. You can love them right where they're at and meet them right where they are. And Jesus paid for their sins too.
Yeah.
Not just yours, He paid for theirs too, all of it. And having a forgiving heart and a loving heart is what breaks through to everyone. So
Yeah. Ever since I heard Jeff's story, is it Jana and Dave? Am I remembering right? Like I remember their names because like their story just impacted me that much. Like I just want to be that kind of person. It sounds like you guys are kind of carrying that on, and I think it's incredible. So it's very cool. If people listening haven't heard that story, please go back and listen to Jeff's episode. He tells the story in some more detail, but it's a powerful example for all of us to follow. So. Okay, our time's going fast here. I kind of want to wrap up with two questions I'd like to hear both of you answer. So really, the more I'm getting to know you, it sounds like it's intentional, and I think your personality just fits. Like, I think you fit your role really well. Like, it sounds like that you've kind of figured out ways to handle this role in a way that fits you really well. If there's a pastor spouse listening who's really having trouble with this, maybe they do have this shining example they feel like they don't live up to, whether people are putting that pressure on them or they're putting them on themselves. Do you have anything that either that you've learned, or just if how can people kind of overcome that or grow into themselves or to the role? Do you have any tips for people listening in a tougher spot?
Focus on listening to what God says about you, not what people say about you.
Yeah.
God says you're his child and that you're beautiful and you're chosen and you're, I think so many people get wrapped up in what people think of them that they're not focusing on what God thinks of them. And we just went through an identity series. Your identity in Christ and who you are is not your identity in the world system. And so trying to just remind women, especially pastors' wives, that you need to focus on what God says about you, not what the world says about you. We are not supposed to be of this world. We are supposed to be different. We are supposed to stand out. We are supposed to be set apart. And that's okay if you're different in ways that maybe your congregation doesn't agree with.
Right.
That's not their place to say.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, and echoing, I totally agree. I think that if you aren't confident in who God created you to be and you're not believing those truths that he says about you, that makes it really hard. And so I think coupling that with your spouse, if you guys are a team and you and your husband sit down and you go like, okay, what's the best way for us to serve? And like, who do you see me, like, where do you see my strengths, and like working together and then asking God too, like about that. And if you are all on the same page, then do that confidently. And if your role is like you have the time or you feel called to, that God's telling you like, yes, do be the pastor's wife and lead women's ministry. Like that's not wrong, or to be in children's ministry, or to lead another ministry, or to not lead any ministries. But as long as your husband and you are walking with the Lord and he's your biggest supporter, like obviously first and foremost having that confidence in Christ. But if you and your spouse are on the same page about it, then like you can boldly be in whatever role that you're supposed to be in. And at least you're both on the same page, because when and I mean we can add humor into that too. Like I technically also am in charge of prayer ministry, and I don't think I do it very well. And often I'll be like, I quit, I'm done. Like, I don't really want to be in charge of this anymore. And sometimes I try and help out, and then I forget about my responsibility that I had in a certain area of communion that I forgot about last week. And like sometimes it can be really frustrating because he's like, you said you were going to take care of that. I'm like, sorry, I forgot. But if you both walk in confidence of like, we are on the same page, and I know Phil has my back, and he doesn't have this different expectation of like, I really wish Melissa was doing this other thing. Yeah. And so therefore there's like that rub, but we are on the same page about this. I want you to host. And I'm like, okay, I will host, confidently. He's not wishing it was someone else, or I'm not wishing it was someone else, like I can do that role very confidently. And so in your marriage, if you're on the same page about it, it gives you that boldness. If you're not sure what your role is, talking together and getting to a place where you're on the same page is just going to be really helpful, because it doesn't really matter what other people think. It does matter what other people think, but like not in a pressure sort of way. Like if you and your husband feel like this is where God has you, like walk boldly in that.
Yeah, that's good. All right, one last question. I'll get you out on here on this. So again, just because of the nature of things, you are often behind the scenes, right? And I'm sure pretty much every Sunday, I hope someone comes up to your husband and says, hey, thank you, good message. Hopefully there's at least a little bit of pat on the back on a regular basis. Pastors get the whole month of October, right? They get the whole pastor's appreciation thing. You guys are often under the radar, behind the scenes. What do you want churches to know about your role? Like, how can we better be supportive of you? How can we better pray for you? What do you need that gets forgotten? Anything like that we haven't talked about yet?
I feel like we have a church that is very supportive of both of us. So I don't necessarily feel like everything is just like our church was just amazing, and they filled out a bunch of cards. And I don't feel like every card was like just Phil. Like people did include me, which is very nice of them. But I think that for me, it's easy for my whole schedule to get filled, and I'm will always make room for one more person, but don't forget to like invite them to do something with you. Like, don't just assume that they're busy. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I know they're even if like they say like, yeah, I'm busy or I've got a busy week. But like, if you are like, I would love to hang out with that person. I would love to hang out with my pastor's wife. Like, call her up and invite her, and maybe she's gonna be like, sorry, I can't this week, but can I do something next week? Because often I end up operating in this mode of, if you ask me to hang out, I say yes. Or you invite me to your thing, I say yes. And I'll be there as long as I don't have something else going on.
Right.
And I'm not as great at being the one that invites. I will do general invitation to things, but it's like you sometimes can feel like, oh, I don't know who to invite or who to pick.
Yeah, sure.
And so therefore sometimes then I'll freeze and not just call up a specific person.
Yeah.
But I love hanging out with people, and maybe this doesn't go across the board, but like, call them up. Don't just assume that your pastor or your pastor's wife is so busy that they wouldn't want to hang out with you, because they probably do. And they probably would love to put you on the schedule. And don't just think like, yes, I know a friendship needs to be both ways. And I can see how, if you're always the only one calling that person, that can be feel discouraging. But like, recognizing, yes, your pastor wife, your pastor is probably very busy, but at the same time, like, that you are wanting to hang out with them or do something with them is like really special and encouraging, and they probably want to do the same thing too.
Yeah, that's good. Don't forget, don't assume they're busy. That's great. I like that. Anything else out
I
there?
think we try so much to teach our congregations to, when someone comes to mind, or if you're thinking about someone, to reach out to them and ask them how you can be praying for them or what you can be doing for them. So the same goes both ways. Like, I think reaching out to your pastor's wife or even your pastor and asking them how you can be praying for them and encouraging them, because I don't think it's as reciprocated all the time. So we feel like, okay, I haven't, there's so many people to go through and so many people to connect with. Like, especially when we first started, we had kind of our initial core team where we were spending a lot of time with those people and we were getting off the ground and running. And then as it grows, you're hanging out with more other people and just you're trying to involve everyone. And so some of that core team feels suddenly left out, or maybe lonely, or like not being paid attention to. But it's like, well, wait, what about me? Like, I want to do those things with you too, but could you just shoot out a text and just be like, hey, I'm thinking about you today. How can I be praying for you? Or how can I encourage you? And also just being willing to serve, just being willing to come alongside your pastoral team and help take the load off.
Yeah, that's
of
a
them.
really good point.
Just being willing to, hey, I can help do slides on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I can help.
Yeah.
I know how to play an instrument, and not making it so that so many of just individuals are doing the whole show. Like, more people you have, the less of a burden it is on individuals. So many hands make light work.
Yeah.
And so just being willing to help, just being willing to serve in your own church and in your own community is a huge blessing to us.
Yeah. Are you showing up on Sunday just for yourself and feeding yourself? Or do you see yourself as a part of the community of Christ and saying, what can I do to be a team player at my church? What can I help out with? Is a really good point of like, that makes a big difference, because we want to do it with you. We're right there with you. You're not going to be alone. We're not going to be like, you got this, see you later. We don't want to micromanage people that are volunteering either, but like, we're excited. We're excited that you're willing to get up early and come and help set up. Like, that is awesome. You're taking time out of your day. We don't have a choice really, but like, we recognize that you are making that choice every week to do that, or once a month or whatever. Like, our children's ministry people that are with the kids each week, like, we see that, and it's pretty awesome that people are willing to do that. There's so many ways that you can be a part of your church community, and
totally,
like, if you're sharing the gospel with people, like, there's not really a better place to be a part of that.
Yeah. more producers and fewer consumers, right? Like we need people all hands on deck for ministry.
It doesn't matter your age. Like
No.
Yep.
you can be young, really young, and be a part of something and ask
Mhm.
to, like, we have young teens that have an interest in something and they're like, hey, can I learn how to do that? And we want to be like, yes, right? You
Yep.
want to be stuck in like only saying this type of person can do that. And like, even if you're older, like, shoot, if you've been a believer for a while, like, I bet you have some wisdom that we
Yep.
would want to hear from you. And don't just think, I'm older, I can't be a part of this, or I couldn't do that. Like, you
The
can.
opposite.
Yeah.
Like we,
Yeah.
We
we,
really do.
we need more mentors for
Yes.
new believers, you know,
Uh-huh.
willing to just meet with people and love on people. The
Yep.
church only grows when we all are invested and loving on one another. So yeah,
Agreed. 100%.
being willing
Good.
to serve.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Heather and Melissa, it's been a pleasure getting to know you guys a little bit. It's been awesome. I'm proud of you. Like, it sounds like your ministries are just doing so well, and I'm grateful for the way that you serve your churches. So thanks for being with us today and for all that you do for your churches. Great getting to chat with you today.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
C-Link is the online bi-monthly newsletter featuring news and stories from the Christian Leader magazine. C-Link delivers timely news to your email inbox so you can stay up to date with what's happening in our districts, agencies, and partners. Sign up for C-Link today on the Christian Leader website at www.christianleadermag.com.
Well, once again, Melissa and Heather, thank you so much for joining us for the conversation today. I really enjoyed getting to know them, and really one of my main takeaways, no matter who you are, what your role is, or who you're married to, or what their role is, all of us should be on a similar mission, right? To find ways to use our gifts to serve in ways that are unique and ways that we're uniquely qualified, and many hands make light work, like they said. And so all of us should be looking for ways that we can do that in our churches, in our communities, and really grateful for all the really great things that they had to share. So we should be on the lookout for that this week. Let's look for ways that we can encourage our pastor and their spouse, and look for ways that we can better serve our church and their community. All right, so with that, we should probably go ahead and wrap it up. So thanks again so much for listening wherever you are today as we're beginning to enter the holiday season. Hope you and your families are doing well. We look forward to seeing you next time right here on the Lead Pods.
Thanks for listening to Lead Pods. Make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing to our show wherever you're listening today. Learn more by visiting usmb.org. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you next time as we learn more practical tools to increase our impact together.